from MTN, the Montana Television Network. This is Face the State.
Good morning and happy Sunday. Thank you for joining us for Face the State. I'm Chet Layman from the Montana Television Network station in Bozeman. Our topic this morning, it's September. September is Recovery Month, and I found a line I want to read to you before we set this up. Recovery Month promotes the societal benefits of prevention, treatment, and recovery for mental and substance use disorders, celebrates people in recovery, lauds the contributions of treatment and service providers, and promotes the message that recovery in all its forms is possible. That leads us right into this morning's guest. Let me introduce you to Michelle Jermunson, a peer, let me get this right, you are a recovery coach?
Yes.
And Samantha, currently working with Michelle in that. Ladies, thanks for joining us this morning.
Absolutely, thanks
Michelle,
for having us.
you just heard that line that we talked about in there. That kind of says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
First off, give me your backstory in this. You are a recovery coach. That comes with a lot of responsibility. How did you get to where you are here today, Michelle?
Yeah, so I've been in recovery for over 7 years. I dealt with alcohol use, compulsive gambling, depression, and anxiety, one of which being social anxiety, talking in front of people. So today is showing how far I've come, being here and doing this, talking with you today. So part of my recovery was I wanted to go to college as well. And so I was up at MSU, going to college. I wound up in my last semester and thought it's probably about time I check the job service and see what might be out there for work. And I came upon this job description and I just thought to myself, okay, this job posting closes at 5 o'clock today, but this is something I have to do. So I quickly got my resume updated and went searching for my current boss to find his new office location and got him the resume and went through the entire process and have now been working my dream job for a little over 3.5 years. So
take me back. You said recovery for 7 years. You are a recovery coach. Did you have access to someone like you when you were going through your recovery?
Kind of.
Yeah.
What we do is peer support in this program, and my introduction to peer support was going to a 12-step program. I went to Gamblers Anonymous, and that was my first introduction to peer support. I didn't really meet with anyone one-on-one, which is generally what we do, is meeting with someone just individually working on whatever it is they're working on. Nothing that's based on a program, anything like that. It's just whatever the individual is looking for. So I hadn't really had that, but I had been searching for that and developed it myself. I wound up meeting with a licensed addiction counselor who was also in recovery. So that was kind of a form of peer support for me. So yeah.
Let's shift gears just a little bit. Samantha, you are currently working with Michelle. Give us your backstory if you can.
So I ran into an incident where my life changed very drastically, and a very kind woman at the Bozeman Deaconess Hospital gave me the information for Montana Peer Support, and there was something inside me that's just like, you know, this might be the start to something new and give me someone that I can at least talk to and build myself back to where I would like to be. And she's definitely done that.
How thankful are you that person at the hospital handed you that little brochure that day?
You know, it's amazing. You know, one thing can really change your life. So I don't remember her name, but I'm very grateful for that.
That's phenomenal. Now, you talk with Michelle. Michelle, you're not a counselor. You're not. Your role is what? You're not a counselor. You're not.
Right.
You don't serve in that role.
It's not counseling. We don't do any diagnosing, anything like that. It's not treatment. It's peer support. So it's that shared experience, connecting with someone, being able to share coping skills, different strategies for how to work through things. And a lot of times people are working on a lot of paperwork for getting into housing or getting assistance, these kinds of things. And we sometimes forget that those things can be really overwhelming. And if someone's having a hard time, life is still happening too, so sometimes we need to just talk about how hard that is. And so we provide a lot of the emotional and social support for people during those types of things as well as just hearing someone's story and not judging it and empathizing with what they're going through.
The word peer has a term that has a little bit of removal of emotion from it. I have my working peers that we work with and things like that. This is more personal in that, isn't it, Samantha? This is Michelle is more than just that person. Yeah, it's a personal relationship, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, but I think the word peer kind of gives an idea of, you know, what these individuals are here to help with. You know, just be a confidant. You know, someone who's there to support and, you know, share human likeness. You know, and sometimes that's all we ever need, is just somebody who's not going to be judgmental and just be like, you know, there's a light at the end of that tunnel and you're going to get to it.
That's phenomenal. Take me back, if you can, in time to that brochure in your hand from the nurse. You're standing there, or you're laying there, or you're sitting there, or whatever you are, and that's in your hand. The rest of it's up to you. Nothing happens. It didn't, you know, it's not voice activated. You had to do something there. Take me to that point in time.
You know, it was a little scary at first because you don't know what's on the other side, but just from the moment she picked up the phone, it was just such a calm, you know, reassuring voice that I haven't heard for a while. So just that, I was like, wow, okay, this woman is willing to meet with me, you know, and she's willing to listen, and I think that's number one.
That's phenomenal. Samantha, there's no doubt in my mind what you get from this. Michelle, what do you get from this?
You know, it's that giving back. It's being able to, I spent a lot of time during my recovery feeling that judgmental piece from people. I had some legal issues along with my addictions and everything, and really feeling like I was being judged as a bad person. And I took that on as well and judged myself as a bad person. And I've, through my recovery, come to realize that's not the case. And so to be able to be there as soon as I can for someone, to let them know you're human, these things happen, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, things do get better, and you're good, and you're okay, and it's nothing you did wrong that's got you here.
So is that the game plan when you go into this? I mean, you don't know when the phone's going to ring, and the phone rings, and this particular point in time, it's Samantha on the other end. Go through that with me. How do you handle that?
Yeah, so the way that I like to do that, which sometimes it looks a little different for everyone, is I would like to meet the person as soon as I can. You know, on the phone, we haven't met each other. You know, she is unable to read my body language on the phone, and I think we can portray a lot of the safety around talking with someone when we're in person. So I try as soon as I can to make that meeting with them. Thank the person for calling me. You know, I was really excited, and it is always fun when I see a number I don't know. It is potentially a new referral or someone coming to the program, and so luckily when Samantha called, I had availability the very next day, and so we were able to set up a time and go for coffee and see what that looks like.
Seems to me, though, that there's a struggle in here. You got the information because somebody in the professional medical world handed you a brochure, and you got that. You didn't know she existed. Unfortunately, you didn't know she existed either. That disconnect in there, that's kind of scary to me. That there's great help out here. There's people willing to get the help. How do we get the two of you connected better?
Yeah, so this is actually kind of a rare way that we get referrals, because it was up to Samantha to take that brochure and flip it over and call the number that was on it. A lot of our referrals are done through law enforcement. We work with CIT, that's the crisis intervention team. And the way we usually look at that is if they meet someone out on the street, they're being called to their house, anything like that, and that individual seems to be struggling and they're wanting support, usually that officer or deputy will then call me or send me an email with that person's information, and then I reach out to them in that way. So we have a lot of referrals that come from law enforcement, that's the Bozeman PD, the sheriff's office. We also get them from the hospital, Gallatin Mental Health, so their crisis response team we get referrals from. We have brochures all over town, so sometimes it is someone said, hey, I saw your brochure at the library, anything like that. Private counselors, all of that. And so it really looks like either the counselor and their client maybe call me together, or it's just an individual calling and saying their loved one is needing support, or an officer saying, hey, I just met with so-and-so, they're really struggling, Michelle, can you go meet with them? So.
Samantha, going back to it, did you have any idea there was a resource like this out here before that brochure was handed to you?
No, I had heard of 12-step programs and inpatient treatment and counseling, but never a free program where somebody just wants to be there for you. And to me, I was just blown away. I was like, this is so cool, and I'm so grateful that in my home state that we have this.
I think it's important to note here that it is a free program.
Yes.
18 and older, available to anyone, not dependent on any insurance or anything like that. It is a free program, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's to every citizen in Gallatin County. We are funded through the county. We began this as a pilot project in January of 2014, ran that for 18 months, and then the county decided this is something we need to keep around, and so we're actually funded through the county, and so it's offered free to all citizens.
That's phenomenal. We have some numbers here. I have put together a little graphic page. I want to show that now if we can do that. Justin, this recovery coach program. As you can take a look at these numbers in this, again, we mentioned over 100 referrals in Gallatin County in the past 12 months, which is a phenomenal number in my opinion. Going on in that graphic, more than 1,600 community contacts with that group just in the past 12 months is all. And again, we mentioned free to 18 older in Gallatin County and not dependent on insurance and things like that. 100 referrals in a year in that. As a person who's been here with this from the beginning, what does that tell you? Are we getting everybody? We're making better strides than we were before.
We're making better strides than we were before. There's definitely always more people to reach. The really great thing, I think, is that we're seeing about a 36% engagement rate. So what we look at is the person meeting with myself or our other recovery coach more than, I think, twice is how we rate the engagement rate. And that's pretty phenomenal. A lot of things are hovering right around 20% for reaching out to someone and then them actually engaging within a program. And then we've seen through the course of the program, we actually get sometimes repeat referrals, which is really great because sometimes someone isn't quite ready, or they may think I need to stop drinking or I want to work on this or anything like that, but they're not quite ready to work on it yet. And so when I get that second or third referral, they might be ready or they're getting closer, or I'm getting a phone call from someone that says, hey, I just uncovered my coffee table and I found this packet that had your information in it because that was given to them by law enforcement because we put together crisis packets for them to give out to individuals. So it's pretty phenomenal.
Give me a picture, Samantha, if you can, how this works. What do you do? How do you communicate with Michelle? How does this work?
Well, I shoot her a text, and we usually set a time and a place, and we meet for an hour and a half, and just I talk about whatever's in the front of my mind, and she gives me whatever advice she feels, would be helpful. And she has so much access to all these different tools in Gallatin County, and I think it's really cool because you've been here a lot longer than I have, and so to have somebody who'd be like, yeah, you got this, well, you could go here and look for that. And it's just helpful to have somebody who is unbiased and just knows a lot of information about Gallatin County and can help me work through these steps that I'm going through and be there to support me with it. It's awesome. So we meet once a week and work things out.
That's for these meetings, or 2-hour meetings, hour meetings? It just depends on how that works?
Yeah, it depends on what's going on in my life and how long I want to talk about it. She's always there. It's really cool. She always has knowledge. It's amazing.
I don't want to make this harder than it is, but I want, if you can take me from that moment you decided I'm going to call that brochure to now. You're sitting here talking to me on television. I think that's a phenomenal thing, Samantha. Can you visualize for me where you might have been if you hadn't made that phone call?
Oh, probably in a very confused, overwhelmed place. Sometimes, there's things that need to be done, and if you haven't done them before, it can be very scary. And having somebody who's been through a similar situation and has ideas of what I could do to help relieve some of that anxiety with these things, it's awesome. It's really awesome.
That's phenomenal, Samantha. Congratulations and great job making that first phone call. That part, I know there's people out here listening to this going, wow, how hard could that have been? You got to be ready, don't you? There's that point in there, and I know you've talked about multiple referrals and that, but when you got to that point and said, I'm going to call whatever the number is on there, that part had to be really hard, but really eye-opening at that moment for you.
Well, at that point in my life, I had nothing to lose, and you know, I had no idea where to go. I had no idea who to call, where to start, and I saw Montana Peer, and I was like, oh, perfect. That's exactly what I need right now. And sure enough, her and I just got along so well, and she's so just kind. It's not, she's more of a friend than anything, and it's amazing what somebody that you don't know can do for your life. So thank you so much for being there for me, Michelle.
That's a high compliment.
Thanks for making the call.
That's a high compliment. A friend. At the base level of that, is that what you're doing here? I mean, is you're showing people, yeah, there is somebody out there that cares. There's somebody that understands. That's, I think, the cool part about the recovery coaches. You do understand. You've all been there. You've been through this road and are going through this road.
Absolutely. And it's a much more intimate relationship that you have with someone than if you're going to a counselor or a psychiatrist or things like that. So and we get to meet out in the community. You know, our organization has an office in Livingston. We're statewide. We do many other projects. For this program, my office is coffee shops and parks and walking trails and things like that around Gallatin County. So that's really wonderful. I can meet with someone in their home or at a coffee shop, and it just helps with that bond and bringing it close so much quicker. And the time constraint, there isn't one. We can meet for 15 minutes, we can meet for 2 hours, those kinds of things. So it's just really us discussing what works with our schedules and when can we meet and what feels important.
I know that there's a cost involved in this, and we have a graphic page to talk about how some of these costs compare, and we're going to have Justin bring that up here in just a second. The recovery program, or the recovery coach program, does cost us about $50 a person to do that, according to the statistics we have. We'll compare that to what it would cost to have law enforcement pay a visit. That's $165, so that's a pretty good savings there. I'm not a math genius, that's why I do what I do for a living in that, but that's about a third the cost of all of that. Right. Now, if somebody is in real trouble and they have to have a more mental health evaluation, that's $2,200 for a 3-day deal and all of that. According to the numbers provided to us by the Montana Peer Network, that is a savings in Gallatin County over the last 12 months of $426,000. Nearly $500,000 in savings for something that's as simple as a meeting. Statewide, if we went into all 56 counties, the numbers are estimating of around $15 million in savings and things like that. And Samantha, what we're talking about here, there's no cost in that. And it's super simple on one level, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm so grateful that I don't have to, you know, there are counselors out there for specific things, but they can cost a lot. And if you're struggling with, you know, certain things, sometimes just having somebody to talk to every once in a while, if it's not, you know, so serious, you know, and even if it is, she can lead you in the right direction, you know. But sometimes it's hard finding which counselor is right for you. So I think Michelle kind of can guide where you need to end up.
That's perfect. That line I read at the beginning of this, there's another sentence that goes to that, and I think it's important to read that here too. Recovery Month spreads the positive message that behavioral health is essential to overall health, that prevention works, treatment is effective, and people can and do recover. Is that part of the message you get from Michelle? She's done it. She's doing it all the time. Is that... she's been there, I've seen this, that she can do it, maybe I can do it too. Is that part of the message that you get from this?
Well, you know, we don't all have people in our lives who have made it to recovery. So meeting someone who's done that and has been so strong, and you know, there are ups and downs, but knowing that you can make it through that and, you know, still be alive and well, and it's not the end of the world, it's reassuring to have a voice, you know, guiding you along the way and being like, yeah, these are normal feelings. We have emotions. It's okay to feel, you know, and for a while I was very numb to emotions, and I'm starting to feel that happiness and joy in life again. And
that's interesting the way you word that you were numb to the emotions. I think a lot of people would think that you were over emotion. You were feeling them too much.
yeah.
It's the other way is what you're
Yeah,
telling me. That's
yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, and it's hard to put into words because it's amazing how as humans we can feel very alone, but as soon as you open up that little window in your life and you're like, you know what, there might be something out there. I should go look for it. You never know what's going to be out that window. So always be open-minded and know that, you know, it's not always the end. There's more that's to come.
Don't sell yourself short. Those were good words. I've done this for a long time. Those were very good words, Samantha. Nicely done on all of that. Some of the statistics that come from this, Michelle, and I know you can back some of this. 82% of clients say they use recovery coaches for social support. You fall into that category, Samantha? That social, nothing more than just a voice to chat with? Is that what your role is partially, Michelle?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. You know, some of the people that I work with, Samantha as well, sometimes getting out of the house and being out in the community can be really tough when you're struggling, and having that person to do that with, you know, can be really helpful. I work with some people that, yeah, they're single, they don't have family around, these kinds of things, and it's, you know, well, I can't go do things by myself, and doing it with someone gets someone to the point where they realize, yes, I can.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier, that your office is coffee shops and parks and things like that, but for some folks dealing with some, that could be the scariest place on earth. There's all those strangers and all these things, and nobody, I hadn't thought of it in that direction, being able to help somebody into something as the park or a coffee shop. That's a pretty fascinating thing.
And sometimes it does have to start in their home. You know, for some people that's the safe place. And while they're realizing that our encounter is a safe place too, sometimes in their home is a good place, and then moving out into the community. Because safety is the key point there for everyone, and that's emotional and physical and psychological safety for people, knowing that they can share and it's okay. And I'm not going to go gossip about it with somebody, and I'm not going to judge whatever they're telling me and all of that. So
that's got to be interesting for you, because you never know. I mean, every phone call is a different person, a different situation, a different whatever. That for you, I would think that keeps you coming back to work every day, is the newness of all of that, and saying, oh, how am I going to have to, what am I going to have to do to help Samantha? It might be different than helping Chet or whatever that situation.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be fascinating for you.
It is fascinating and exciting, and also we have high self-care that we work on for that, and we utilize a clinical supervisor and these kinds of things, because as exciting as it is, it can also be kind of tough. You know, if someone does have a story that connects pretty closely to us, or, you know, a story that maybe we're not connecting with that much because it's pretty scary. You know, we can hear some pretty traumatic things for people. So that's also something we model, is our high level of self-care that we do for ourselves, and, you know, keeps us human too with this. You know, I don't know all the answers for anything, but I'm willing to sit with Samantha while she finds her answers.
Do you find answers from Samantha as well? Because you were 7 years, you've been doing this for yourself in recovery. Do you find answers from Samantha?
Oh yeah, I learn from everybody I meet with. That's another piece of peer support, is that it's a mutual relationship. It's as equal as it possibly can be, meeting with someone, and I learn something from every encounter with every person that I meet with.
How does that make you feel, Samantha? That's pretty cool.
Makes me feel special. Thank you, Michelle.
I like that. That back to your definition of peer. The word that came out of the brochure for you was that part of it. It's give and take all the way around.
Yeah.
So there's no magic answer, and nobody told you there was going to be in this.
No, you just have to find it within yourself and know that you can do it.
That's phenomenal. That's another statistic that was given to me in this. 82% of clients reported services as very beneficial. I'm not going to even ask you that question, Samantha. You've sold me on that one pretty well in that as well. The work that goes on with the Montana Peer Network, Michelle, it's statewide for the most part. Working it statewide. Let's get that out there.
Yeah. So the Recovery Coaching Outreach Program is in Gallatin County. Everything else that Montana's Peer Network does is statewide. We do trainings for peer supporters. around the state. We have a Peer Support 101 training, which is going to be very beneficial for peer support certification, which should be rolling out on October 1st. So that's a 40-hour training for the Peer Support 101 that we offer. We also do a trauma-informed peer support training through the National Center for Trauma-Informed Care, and that's a 7-hour training that I've spent this summer going around the state and doing that training in different communities and getting that out. We have a new program. It's the Opioid Project, and that will be training peer supporters for different substance use disorder centers around the state and helping them hire up peer supporters to work on that program. We also have a Healthy Minds, Healthy Bodies workbook that we've developed and put out based around the 8 dimensions of wellness. And we do a recovery conference every year. This year will be our 3rd annual. So
that's phenomenal. In fact, we'll bring that graphic up now, Justin. We do have a little information for folks that are looking to attend that. It will be on September 16th.
Yes.
Yeah, I got the date right this time, September 16th. As we bring the graphic up, you see that we'll be in Helena, running from 9 to 5, $20 for non-members, Montana Peer Network members, free of charge, all kinds of things. Kind of touch base a couple of the things that will be going on that day.
Yeah, so we'll have a keynote speaker in the morning for everyone all together, and then we break out into workshops. There will be 4 morning workshops from anything from the Hearing Voices Network will be doing a presentation via video. In one of the workshops, there will be Recovery Bingo is one of them. Understanding Trauma is another one we'll have. Faces of Recovery will be another program or workshop that we'll be doing at that. And then the lunch will have an award ceremony with that. We do awards for lifetime achievement, achievement awards for peer supporters, things like that. And then there will be 4 more workshops in the afternoon. And then there will be a section with our board of directors, and that's kind of a brainstorming for people who are members and non-members, kind of seeing what it is Montana's Peer Network is doing around the state, and maybe ideas for where the citizens would like to see us go.
Right. I would think we've only have a couple minutes left here, but I would think one of the challenges in Montana is we're in a big city. What we're talking about isn't a big city problem. It's a Montana deal. The challenges of rural Montana, that must be something that Montana Peer Network constantly is having to work on.
Yeah, and so that's something we're looking at, even for this program, just within Gallatin County. If I have referrals from West Yellowstone, that gets a little tricky. That's an entire day, really, to go meet with one person. So looking at things like video and phone coaching and different things like that for the people. And so we're looking at that on a statewide level as well. How do we get the video and these kind of satellite things set up?
So the work is ongoing.
Absolutely.
Nothing is light off. Just before we wrap this up, Michelle, 7 years ago, would you have pictured sitting in this studio chatting with me about this?
Not even a little. Not at all. My first 12-step meeting I went to, there were probably 6 people in the room. I sat there shaking uncontrollably, could not speak to a single person for the entire meeting. And now I do this, and I facilitate trainings. It's pretty phenomenal. That is
pretty phenomenal. And Samantha, I know you're glad she did.
I sure am. Oh my goodness, thank you.
That's phenomenal. Samantha, Michelle Jermunson, a recovery coach, thanks for joining us this morning on Face the State. Also, thank all of you for joining us here on the Montana Television Network. I'm Chet Layman, and until next time, have yourselves a pleasant Sunday.
You've been watching Face the State, a presentation of MTN, the Montana Television Network.